Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Art 196, an introduction to designing web graphics for the spring semester 2022. Today, I want to do two things. I want to continue with lesson 9, and we won't quite finish it up yet, but it will come close. We'll continue working with tables and styling them. And then in addition to that, I think I mentioned the other day that you can buy domain names if you wish. They're relatively inexpensive. There may be $15 a year. And then you can, once you have that domain name, depending on from whom you buy it, will determine whether or not you can use it to use their forwarding feature. And I'll show you, I use GoDaddy for my domain names and to host my website. And I'll show you how we can use the forwarding feature to so that instead of using the URL that's provided by the free web hosting service, you can use your own, and it will, as I mentioned, I think before, it will go to GoDaddy, and then GoDaddy will forward it to the user to your website. It's kind of nice. It's not expensive, and if you want to continue using a free service for a while before you subscribe to a hosting service, that because that will be a bit more. That'd be probably maybe close to $10 a month. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you, those two things today. So where we left off before is we imported the other table, and by using not table itself, but we imported tabular data. So it's broken down into rows and columns, and now the next step is to style it. Again, we've already styled the first table, and it's finished, looks nice. I really like how they have styled it. The next step is to find out what of this tabular data is already styled for us once it's wrapped in a section tag. So I'll select any item, click any item inside the table that's been inserted. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the table using our tag selector at the bottom. There we go. And now I can go up here, or I can go over here under the insert tabs, and I can select insert div. Actually, I want a section. So let's go and insert a section right here. And then it's going to ask me, do you want to insert it before, after, wrap it, or nest it within it? We want to wrap it around it. So as soon as we do that, notice that a good chunk of this is already styled for us. Okay. The next step is to determine, like we did with our first table, what the header, which elements of our table are a header. So I'm going to go ahead down here, and it's the first element. So if I just click and I drag across these 5 columns, and you'll notice that we have 5 columns. I'll just click on each one. And at the bottom down here in the properties panel, select header. So if I click on each one, typically, if I were to switch to design view, I could click and drag a little bit more easily to highlight them. But I'll just click on each one, and I'll turn it into a header. And notice from the previous table, it's already styled. Now, one thing that I have done, because ahead of time, because it was a little bit awkward the other day, trying to find, the features, the classes down here in the properties panel, it slows down. So what I'm doing here is I've already taken existing styles from the previous one and created and adapted those to create new styles for the 5 columns that we have here. We had 4 columns in the previous table. We have 5 columns in this one. So the cost is equivalent. We leave that one alone. Okay, we don't need to apply that. The only thing that we need to do is that you'll notice that you have to, as we did before, we're going to switch to design view, and then you'll select the whole column. You'll just click and drag, highlight everything. And once you have selected the entire column, then we go down here to the class and click and make sure that cost is selected. Okay. So the next one that we want to create is for the day. And they're doing this a couple of different ways. What they have done is they have taken, let's see, let me click off of this. Let's go back to live view. I'm going to scroll back down. There we go. So after you've done that for each one of these and created that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a selector for each one of these. Cost is already done, but now we need to create a selector for the day. So to do that, we can base it on the one for that's cost. And we can do the same for length, description, and class. What we're going to do though, and they're really minor changes that you have to make. I'll go ahead over here and I'm going to make sure that I have green styles global selected. And I want to select cost, section cost, and that's selected. So what we can do, there's a couple of different ways of doing this. We could duplicate this and rename it, which is what we're going to do for most of these. Or what we can do is you can also right click and you can just say copy styles. You can go to code, copy all styles, copy some styles, or duplicate. So we're going to use copy all styles and duplicate for the remainder of these. So once I copy all the styles, then I come down, I come over here and I add a new selector and I name it section dot day. Okay, so then once that's named, then I can right click and I can paste styles. Okay, I don't want to copy. I want to, where are we here? I can't paste it. Let me select it again. Why can't I right click? It should allow you to paste styles in here, but I've already added styles, so I can't paste them. If it were an empty class, then it would allow me to paste them, but that's what you're going to do. Then for the length, what we're going to do is similar. We're going to take the cost and we're going to right click, but this time we're going to duplicate it. So once it's duplicated, then we can go ahead and as we're naming it, you'll name it length. Okay, it will be section dot length. And then the only thing that we have to do with that is we're going to change, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to leave the it to 4 M's, the width of it. So 4 M's, and I think that's 4 M's as well. The next one is going to be class. So we're going to redo that one. And in a similar way, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the section cost, right click, duplicate it. So if I go ahead and I select duplicate, where it says section space dot cost, then just click here and rename it. Okay, so I don't want to add one because I've already done that. Notice that that gets all goofed up. So now I need to make sure that I delete it and everything comes back. So, but the only thing that we'll do after we rename class, we're going to change the, and we've duplicated the one for cost, is we're going to change the width of it. And the one for that now for, where is it? Class. There we go. We're going to change it to 10 M's to give it plenty of space to give it a description of, or not a description, but the name of the class that's being offered. And then the last one is description. It's done the same way as that we go ahead and now we're going to, let's see, do the same for description. We're going to apply the description class to the description columns. So we've done the same thing as we've done before. Go ahead and we take, we duplicate. Let me go ahead and make sure that under description, it should be 10 M's as well. So hold on here. And yeah, description should be fine. Okay. So now that we've styled everything, the only thing that's left, and I'm going to make sure that we have saved everything. So you have to remember to say save all. Make sure that you have not only your style, your page saved, but the styles that you've added and changed saved. Now, in addition to that, the one thing that we have left to do, and what I will do is I will open it up, and I'm going to do that. We're going to do this next Tuesday. So let me go to files, and I'm going to look at finished files for a minute, and I want to look at the events, finished HTML. Okay, so when we look at the page, oh, no, there is one more thing that I have to do. I'm sorry. Let's go back to here. No, one more thing. I forgot, we have to add something called a caption to each of these and then style it. Now, this is where you have to go into the code view. So again, if I look at the finished one, events finished, you'll notice that it says 2017 event schedule above the table. And then down here, it says 2017 class schedule. Well, that's what we're going to add. That's what I forgot to add. So let's go back to events. And this is where you have to go into the code view. So I'm just going to click anywhere inside the table. And I'm going to make sure you use the tag editor. Come down here and go ahead, and I'm going to select the whole table just to find out where it is. The opening and the closing tags. So make sure that it's selected. There we go. So there's the opening tag of the table. Okay. Now, right after that, we have, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit that opening tag for table with width 100%, border 0. I'm going to hit the return key. And I want it to be for the table row. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put in here an opening tag for caption. You can see that there's one here. We can go ahead and add that. And what we'll do inside that caption is that we're going to put, we'll just update it, 2022 class schedule. Whoops. There we go. Now let's go ahead and add the closing tag. And it should bring something up here in a minute. And there it is. No, I added it to the wrong one. This is added to, no, it is, that is correct. That's the class schedule, but we want an event one as well. So I need to go ahead and do the same for the top, and then we're going to style it. So again, that's what we're going to do for captions to make sure that they look, look proper and or easy to read and follow. So I'll do the same for here. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have the top table selected, the one at the very top, And again, I'm going to use the tag selector for table just to make sure that I know where it is. So there's the opening tag for the table. And I hit the return key, and now I want a caption. So I'm going to add the opening tag for caption. And we're going to put in there 2022 event schedule. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and put the closing tag. And we should have one up here now, as soon as I do that. And there it is, teeny tiny type. And the reason it's really small is because it's contained within the table tag, and it's applying the general table type settings that we've used for that. Now we need to update it a little bit. So, and make it look visually a little bit nicer. So I'm going to go back to the CSS designer. I'm going to come over here and we're going to create a new one. We're going to say, it'll just simply be table caption. It doesn't have to be inside a section or anything else. Probably for all tables, this is how you want the caption to look. If you wanted to look a particular way inside a section tag, then you would put section in front of it, as we've done here. So I'm going to go ahead here and create a new selector, and it's going to be table space caption. Space caption. Whoops, got to make sure I spell it right. Okay, hit the return key. There we go. And since we've already applied caption to that, we should be able to see as soon as we select this. Notice that it highlights in blue. That's a good sign. That lets you know that the selector that we're creating is affecting the correct area here. So now we want to change the margins at the top and the bottom. So I'll make the one here at the top 20 pixels. And we want, that's going to be at the top. And then the padding, let's scroll down to padding. At the bottom is going to be 10 pixels. And again, how do I know this? I'm just following the specifics from the book. Okay. Notice that it's changing a little bit as we're doing that. Then we want the color to be 090. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to select the color. And I think it is this one here. That's it. There we go. Notice that it changes it. We want the font size to be considerably larger. So I'm going to go ahead over here to font size, and it's going to be in percentages. So we want it to be 170%, I believe. No, 160%. 170 wouldn't hurt. There we go. And then one of the last things that we want to do is change the weight of it so that we have the font weight, and we'll switch to bold. Oh, come on. I don't want font variant. I want font weight. Bold. There we go. So it's a little bit bolder, a little bit nicer to read. Line height, 1.2 ems. Switch to ems, there we go, ems. And I want 1.2 ems, 1.2 ems. There we go. So that pushes that up a little bit. And then the last thing that we want to do is, how do we want this type to reside? We want it to be not flush left anymore, but we want it to be centered. And so now what we've done is we've taken each of these tables, we've imported them two different ways. We've also styled them, departing from the default settings that are given to the tables with borders around each of the cells, and which is kind of clunky, and made them visually, very attractive, but more importantly, very easy to read. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that all of this is saved. Save all. There we go. And now I wanted to show you the last thing that we need to do. So this looks really good on a large screen. It looks good on a small screen. But for a phone, it would not look very good. It would get crunched down, really small, horrible. So that's what we're going to do next Tuesday. And it takes a bit of work to style it for the phone. But let me show you what it looks like here when I switch to the finished version of it. So if we look at the tables here, you can see that there we have the nice table header, we have the caption that's added, and we have the columns that all read really nicely. But as soon as we drop down, we use this and we bring it all the way down to a really small phone. Notice how the tables are restyled. And we switch from a light green background to a white. So each of these normally would be columns, read really nicely in the smart, in a phone format. And as I said, it takes a bit of work to style it this way. So we're going to do that on Tuesday. And then we'll move on to lesson 10. Okie doke. So that's what I have to show you for that today. The other thing that I wanted to, that I talked about is purchasing a domain name, which you do not have to do, but it's something that I think if you're satisfied with one or more of your websites that you designed for this class and you want to continue using them, one of the things that I recommend that you do is to, let's go down here, and let me scroll over to here. I'm going to go to, let's look at this website here, this one. Now you can see that it's named Art196 Spring 2021.infinityfreeapp.com. Well, if I put in, let me go ahead and just click a brand new tab, and I put in here K Miller online.com. Okay. Notice that it takes me to this website, the one that I created in MobiRise. This is one of the ones that I created. Okay. Now, when you look up here and see the URL, it has the Art196 Spring 2021.infinityfreeapp.com, but a way of getting to that URL is by putting in your own personal domain name and using the forwarding feature. And that's what I wanted to show you right now. So to get to that, you need to buy a domain name. So what I have done, let's go ahead and let's find, where did I put it? There we go. So I'm using GoDaddy's feature. And if you want to find a new domain name, or if you go to their homepage, that would be the first place. And notice that I already have a bunch of domains that I've already purchased. But let's say I want to use just the one that I've used before, Kirk Miller Art.com. And you need to make sure that you put the extension, the .com. And let's go ahead and search for that. It takes a couple of seconds to hunt. And you can see that I would pay someone else to broker this for me, which I already own. It means that this domain is already taken. And this person is saying, you know what, if I pay them $70, that's not how much the domain will cost. That's how much I'm paying this person to broker it, to get that specific domain for me. So I've never done that. for other options down here, you can see, for example, for kirkart.com, it's for sale, premium price for almost $2,000. Kirkmillerart.biz is only $11.99. Kirkmillerart.shop is $1.99. So if there's any one of these that works for you, fine. But if you want a .com address, then you're going to have to pick something totally different. So what you do is you just keep searching history until you find something that is suitable for you. Now, once you found it and you have purchased your domain name, what I can do now is I can go through here and it says, what do I want to do? I want to go through here and let's go through. I'm going to go to Kirk Miller and I'm going to go to my products. Okay. And I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to pick Kirk Miller Online because that's the one that we were talking about. So if I click here, I want to manage the DNS. Now, this is buried way deep in here, and it took me a while the other day to find it. It's something that I do once, and I rarely touch it afterwards. And periodically, they update their website, and it takes me a while to find that. But I'm going to go ahead here and go to Manage DNS. And you can see there's all this stuff up here that you can't delete. Tells you in seconds, you know, the TTL, don't even know what that stands for. What I want to do is I want to scroll all the way down here to the bottom where it says forwarding. And this is the forwarding feature. So now what I can do is I can either edit this or I can create another subdomain. Well, I want to go ahead and let's pretend that I want to edit it. So for this, I've already added this, but for kmilleronline.com, I can send it to that other website. And you can see that if I click here, you put in, it already has it for you, HTTP, or in some instances, you would have HTTPS, which is a secure website. And then you put in the URL that's been given to you by that free service, hosting service. So now, once that's done, you save it. And when someone puts in kmilleronline.com, it takes a while for it to update. It could take as long as a day, maybe 2 days. Sometimes it's much faster. But then what happens is that when someone or yourself puts in kmiller.com, it will take you to that site that we created and hosted infinityfree.app. So that will work for either your lessons if you wanted to. It will work for your Mobirise website. And it will also work for your your Dreamweaver website. Okie doke. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today, unless you guys have any questions. It will take a while and it's very tedious to add and to change this. And I don't know that I'll get it done in a half an hour, but looking at the finished version here, events finished, to get this done, it really is very tedious, and I hope to make it work a little bit more smoothly. Okay, so that when we're done, we have a really nicely styled table for a phone. Okie doke. So if there aren't any questions, that's it for today. We finished the styling of our tables, and they look really nice, very readable. As I said, I think they've done a stellar job in designing tables. And if I ever needed to use a table, which I have not had to for some time on my website, but I just needed to change the colors or something like that, I would probably leave the type alone. I definitely would leave the styling alone. Just use these styles and copy them and apply them to my own personal website. So I encourage you to save these lessons if you haven't already. They can really come in handy in the future when you're designing your own website or someone else's. And you need to do something complex like adding a table. Okay, any questions? Because that's all I have for you today. And as I said, on Tuesday, we will style the remainder of the table for a smartphone. And then that will be it for that. And we'll move on to lesson 10, which in many respects we've already covered. That was the first couple of weeks of class where we where I had you optimize images for the web. And there's different, they provide different ways of importing images into Dreamweaver. Also doing some minor edits, which I do not recommend that you do in Dreamweaver. Some of these features too have been removed too. It's just easier to work in a program like Adobe Photoshop. Make your changes or prepare your files, your images for the web. And then if you have to, always go back to Photoshop file and save it again and then update it in Dreamweaver. It's a much safer way to go. Because by saving your original file in Photoshop as a Photoshop file, that's non-destructive. As soon as you save, any of the features as JPEGs, you don't want a JPEG. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit, but that's what we'll be talking about next. Images as they pertain to the web. As I said, you already know how to name them. You know how to use the JPEG, GIF, or PNG file formats. And that's what we've been doing so far. And then we'll move on, and now that we've created all of our pages in lesson 11, what we will do is we're going to create links to each of the pages that we have created. So now you'll have a complete website intact that will be workable. And once you've completed lesson 11, I will want you to publish it as we did with lesson 7. And again, if it works and everything is fine and you publish it, no problems publishing it, you'll get full credit. Okay. So that's it for today. I know I've said that before. Yeah, okay. No questions before we leave today? Relatively short lecture, a little over half an hour. So give it a go. You haven't already, catch up. So that's it. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and you guys are free to go. Okay. Bye-bye.